Hi there. Well, today's video was supposed to be me turning this whole spaceship, but unfortunately I lost the entire video of me turning the body, which is made out of cherry, but I've decided to put it together anyway. So the cherry base has been hollowed out and has got rebates to accommodate the base section and the top section. So we joined the recording at the point that I'm actually starting to turn the small dome portholes that are going to be fitted into the sides of the top section of the spaceship. So the offcut of acrylic that was given me by a fellow turner he was about 4 inches square and just mixing my metaphors, about 15mm thick. So I've cut a section off and have started turning this in the pen jaws. I've drilled some 8mm diameter holes in the outside of the spaceship, so I need the little tenons to be a good fit for that, so I'm using a spanner as a sizing tool. I also want each of the portholes to be the same overall diameter, so I'm using a 10mm spanner as a sizing tool for the outside diameter of the porthole. And then a bit of shaping using a small 8mm diameter round bar skew before addressing it a bit more robustly with a slightly bigger skew. Quite a good smooth finish. So after that, sanded through the grit starting at 240 all the way up to 1000 grit, and then some Yorkshire grit, followed by some chestnut burnishing cream, and yeah, that got a really good clear bright finish. So part it off, and that's the first one of 8 done. I got a bit quicker as I went on, albeit that speed up to 20 times makes it look a lot quicker anyway. This is the top section of the spaceship, which is a piece of Purple Heart. It's had the holes bored around it using the indexing system and my homemade equivalent of the Robert Sorby precision boring system. So anyway, I've got all the bits ready. They're all nice and shiny, and just got to drill them in now with some super glue into the holes. So I've mounted now another sort of 15mm square section of the Perspex blank, mounted it in the pen jaws between centres, and just going to now turn a finial with an 8mm diameter dowel at the bottom that will be pegged into the top of the Purple Heart. I actually tried using carbide point, the carbide square tool on this acrylic, but didn't find I got on with it. It was better to use traditional tools, so I roughed it around to start with using a spindle roughing gouge and then a skew. Of course, those pesky spirals need brushing off all the time, but good practice with a skew. So the shape's starting to come together. I'm just turning away some waste at the bottom now, so I've got some clearance to actually start to form the shape at the bottom, and also enough meat left so that I can do a peg at the end. The skew cuts quite nicely, either in skew mode or scraper mode, and I've also got a point tool which I was using to get right into the corners to create some nice sharp transitions. And then some more use of the skew, starting to create a detail at the tip, which with the tip of the finial. And again using that point tool with sharpened facets to it to just get into the bottom of those little transitions. The tip at the tailstock end is now free, so at the end of the process just take away the tailstock and then one-handed just sharpen up the tip. This time I decided to go through the grits and go all the way up to 12,000 using the pen turning wet and dry stuff, just because I wanted to get this to be as flawless a finish as I could do. And then that was followed by Yorkshire grit and burnishing cream. And then a quick size check of the peg, again with the spanner, and then time to part off. So this is the top section now. The bottom has got some rebates and tenons ready to receive the rest of the bits of the setup. It's all being glued in now, the portholes. The base section has got rebates ready to receive the top section and ultimately the bottom section. That's the bottom with some floor marks in it from the original blank. So that's the base section, which is going to have the top with the finial sitting into it. I've got some more work to do yet though. So I want a base section which is going to be like the rocket exhaust flume to fit into the recess that I've made, and also to cover the blemish marks. This whole project has been an exercise in careful measurement of tenons and mortices so that each of the pieces can fit into a chuck, either in expansion mode or in gripper mode. So I've used a variety of different chucks from 35mm to 50mm and even a 75mm one, so that the whole thing comes together with each of the pieces fitting together neatly. So I've gripped this on a 35mm small Repel powered jaw tenon, and the next stage I need to actually work out how to drill a hole through the middle with a Forstner bit, and also make sure that I can re-chuck it when I want to turn it around and finish the other side. After I've drilled through the Forstner, I'm going to open up the inside to get rid of some waste with a spindle gouge, and I'm then going to actually turn a mortise hole that allows me to regrip this in due course with the expansion mode on the O'Donnell jaws. Then I want the sides, which I'm going to cut out in a minute, to be nice and straight and parallel, so a quick trim with the skew. So I've measured up my jaws, and I want to make two steps here, one for the expansion mode for the jaws and the other for the little plate that I'm going to have at the bottom, which will hold the light to pretend to be the exhaust jets. And then a quick check with the O'Donnells to make sure I've got the hole the right size before I take it off the chuck, and yay, it fits. Now I want to cut the bottom part into segments, pointy triangular shaped segments, to make it look more rocket-like, I guess. So I'm going to have to mark it up using indexing into regular intervals, and then I'm going to have to do some cutting either by hand or with a mini Dremel. With it all gridded up regular, just using a flexible steel rule, I'm marking out the points that I wish to cut. After carefully marking them all up, I realised that actually it'd be far better and more stable if I reduced the amount of points on the ground to just 3 and had 3 of the points proud and not sitting on the tabletop. That way it would be certain not to rock. So I've remarked it out with some of the feet touching the ground and some of the feet short. I was going to try cutting this by hand, but I've used the Dremel with this carbide dust edged kind of cutting wheel on, and that seems to do the job quite neatly, just going around creating slices and creating the pattern I want. So there we have it, roughly cut out, and time to use the little mini drum sander on the Dremel, and also another little detailing tool just to tidy up those edges. And then when that was done, I sanded all the outside and also sanded the facets by hand. And then I also did some texturing using the Crown Mini texturing wheel on the outside, creating a little band of detail, but unfortunately I've lost the recording of that as well. Well, there it is, reversed again onto the chuck jaws, and you can see the texturing that I've done. I didn't actually drill all the way through with a Forstner. I had to leave the Forstner short in order to make sure the tenon was robust. So I've now got to part it off, clean it up, and I also need to create a additional little rebate because I've got some little inserts that I'm going to be putting in with the lights glued onto them to give it the whooshy spaceship effect. So there's the little disc with the light on it and a bit of texturing and colouring. Then the main spaceship body has got mortices to fit the tenons on the bottom, and there's another similar disc at the top which fits in so that when it's all switched on, the lights shine down and up and make it look like a spaceship. Here we are. It's all done with a remote control. The little light units are off eBay. Very cheap and quite good fun to play about with things like this.